Prepare for a spiritual experience with God's Not Dead, A Light in Darkness, which is the third entry in this sacred cash cow series of films, which helped make Pureflix into the #1 streaming platform for faith-based audience members ages 85 to dead. And God's Not Dead 3 takes on the tense cliffhanger set up in the second movie by weirdly hurtling itself into the future, where that conflict has already been resolved somehow, which frees up our heroic pastor protagonist to grapple with a new, unrelated, ripped from the headlines struggle between the corrupt liberal agenda and the righteous followers of Christ, who only continue to be an oppressed and ostracized minority group as members of the world's most practiced religion, with a disproportionately high level of influence on Western society and American politics. You see, Christian morals have been the status quo for ever because of centuries of hypocritical bloodshed and puritanical colonialism. So when America tries to threaten that special treatment with a modern definition of equality, it makes us seem to Christians like we don't all acknowledge that they are special and superior beings who will laugh at us from heaven while we all burn in hell for being disgusting, wrong, and stupid. That's low-key gaslighting behavior on our part, which is why it's super meaningful that the events in God's Not Dead 3 are kicked off by a non-believer's literal gaslighting behavior, sparking an explosive movement in which Pastor Dave Hill helps a girl struggling with her faith find God once again by targeting her when she's emotionally vulnerable, while simultaneously leading a former Christian back to God by targeting him when he's emotionally vulnerable. Pastor Dave even reconnects with his estranged brother after that brother meets the condition of returning to God's light, thanks to the calculated efforts of Pastor Dave to manipulate him until he's emotionally vulnerable. God, Pastor Dave is such a benevolent man and not at all the charismatic leader of a religious cult. And soon you'll see that too, as long as you're willing to open your heart to him and become emotionally vulnerable. That really seems like the key thing when he's looking for new church funding. I mean, friends and followers of Jesus and his fun group of long dead disciples, who I think all made up some sort of traveling improv troupe. I'm fuzzy on the details, still new here, but I'm willing to get vulnerable. So pass that collection basket and be prepared to cast the first stone in today's Tales from the New Testament installment of Clip Breakdown. Amen. Hello, television viewers. My name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web, and we break it down like the stone tablets that had the 10 commandments on them before they got broken because they were dropped by a really clumsy altar boy. I like making up my own religious lore. I'm allowed to. It's America, which is exactly where this movie takes place, and the American freedom to be Christian only is at the heart of the God's Not Dead series, and God's Not Dead 3 is right there with the rest of them, making sure that a public university, which is meant to cater to children of all walks of life, is disproportionately funding Pastor Dave's church because it's more Christianity-y, and we love a monotheistic God up in here. But before we get into it, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. It lets me know that you want to see even more Pureflix clip breakdowns. We still have God's Not Dead 4, which I hear is the most redonkulous of all of them. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones as weekly as possible. I'm getting back into the groove, I can feel it. But I also really would love if you click that notification bell icon. That way you do get those notifications. I've had many people, over 5, which means there's probably many of you that are not getting notified when I post new videos, and I don't know what I did to YouTube's algorithm to fall out of favor, but I refuse to let this be my flop era. And if you could make sure you're subscribed and notified and check out my videos when they come out, I would be so grateful to you. You will be my new God, and I will worship you like the Jesus of wherever your hometown is. New Jersey? I don't know, where do you live? Comment below. Also, I've got merch and a Patreon where you can access exclusive bonus stuff. But for now, everyone needs to shut up because I'm turning on the evening news, which is the easiest and only way that a faith-based film can give us the expositional context necessary to understand understand this sequel, trequel. Because of this, I don't have to remind you that the last movie ended with Pastor Dave getting arrested for refusing to turn over his sermon text to the government, because that was what they were fear-mongering us with at that time. I guess that was a thing we were supposed to be afraid of in America, but it didn't happen.
We're seeing more and more protests around the city since local pastor David Hill was arrested.
Hill refused to turn over transcripts of his sermons to city officials. And right now, a contentious free speech debate is threatening to boil over while the pastor sits in jail.
It is unthinkable that they would force Pastor Hairgrease to sit in a jail cell, along with all of those liars and con artists and child predators. Luckily, many of them are former co-workers of his from neighboring churches, so he's safe. And he's also free. The movie begins when Pastor Dave is released from jail into the custody of Jude, which is like the guy from Africa who is like there as an adult exchange student of some sort to work with the church that David works at. And he's like talking to the news being like, I'm glad that the court saw that this was a matter of free speech. It's like, yeah, but so did the whole trial happen? Were you in jail for months in the same pair of acid wash jeans, you tool? I thought that this whole movie was going to be about that court trial system because that's what they set up at the end of the last movie. But I guess it just goes to show you they did not plan ahead, because this movie takes on a decidedly different plot line that's just unrelated. Like, that cliffhanger resulted in nothing, and him getting out of jail right now has little to do with the plot. It is a great chance for him to proselytize, though.
It's about our right to see truth and to share that truth.
But considering your church is associated with a public university, how do you define truth exactly?
Truth is a person.
Ooh, he's a Swiftie. He said, define truth. Truth is a person. Truth is a dog. Truth is when I lose my boot in a bog. Truth is nothing. Truth is in my hat. Truth is Jesus Christ when he shaves my back. Like, okay, thank you. Now, can you define it in a way that makes sense and doesn't further confuse the swarms of angry, God-fearing protesters who just love to buy guns and storm government buildings? Like, what? In the God's Not Dead cinematic universe, Pastor Dave Hill is famous for pulling seemingly perfectly scripted sermons out of his ass and performing them with the self-importance of a college student who writes poetry. But then when you actually think about what he's saying, you realize it's just a word salad served with a side of communion crackers, which I still think are gross, by the way. Like, not only is the communion flavorless, but I also have to wait in line for it and let an old man place it on my tongue with his fingers, like I'm the member of some LSD cult getting ready to transcend. If God wants more young people to go to church, then he should let the priests put those flying saucer candies into everyone's mouth with their hands. Those things are made of the same wafer material, except filled with the disgusting sour powder that rots your teeth. And that's like a fun way to represent the body of Christ. And certainly not any weirder than everybody pretending to ritualistically eat his flesh and drink his blood. How is it sacrilegious to just add some food coloring to that? Make it a little sweet. Do you guys know which candies I'm talking about? They used to be in like the quarter machines. Anyway, if you don't remember, Jude and Dave are like, I'm gonna call him Dave even though he's like Pastor Dave, I don't know. They're besties. They're besties of church. And they love to get waffles together, it would seem. The whole town is up in arms, divided over whether or not the church that David is running, which is called like the Harbor House or something, whether it should continue to exist, because it is on the property of a once Christian university that is now a public school. And before his first sermon back, he visits the local food bank, which is run by a character named Meg Harvey, who is just like a really benevolent, recovering alcoholic whose full-time job is cooking soup for people who need soup. I'm not saying that's not a real job, it's just like, it seems, who's paying her? Anyway, Jude is like, so when are you gonna ask her out? And he's like, oh please, she doesn't like me. But she clearly is like eye-f***ing him in the rectory.
Busy today, huh?
This is good. The more people we feed, the better. Hey, thank your congregation for all this. We couldn't do it without y'all.
I'll see you next Saturday.
Hold up.
Hold up. Okay, hold up. You see a bad bitch coming to you. What's the hold up? I'm in that new me and new when I roll up. I tell the valet park the Benz and pull the rolls up. That's so cool. He's a Swiftie and she's a Barb. And now they can live together in perfect harmony thanks to the divine and powerful 2015 MTV Video Music Awards, which first sparked a Twitter argument that evolved into an open dialogue for the entire country, and a teachable moment for Taylor Swift, who quickly handed control of her Twitter account over to a publicist artist. Nicki Minaj complained that MTV favors artists with slim bodies, and Taylor Swift was like, how dare you are definitely talking about me. Like, girl, let's sit. David goes back to his church for his first churchy meeting ever since being in the jail, which also had a church, but we didn't see any of that. There's picketers outside. As always, a good handful of extras with stupid signs, and David is just letting his congregation know that, don't worry, even though everyone wants this church to close down, we've seen dark times before, and we're seeing them now.
I want to assure you that St. James has been around for over 150 years. And despite what those picket signs say out there, we're not going anywhere.
They can throttle our electricity. They can steal all of our light bulbs. They can even use science to create a small black hole underneath the building that sucks up 90% of all visible light. But they will never take our constitutional right to integrate church and state. Remember, everybody, God works in mysterious ways. Yes, this chapel may be so dark that I can no longer read my Bible, and college students are now using the back row to discreetly give each other hand jobs. And yet, on the flip side, business has never been better for the Etsy shop owner who sells these extremely long candles behind me, which are usually meant for sex dungeons and Phantom of the Opera lairs. I don't know why, and I remember saying this in the last movie, the church is so dark, so dark. Turn on some lights. I don't know, it's like, it's frustrating. I just can't see the detail on people's faces, and I'm like, isn't this supposed to be the happy place that they all live? Couldn't we have done some like simulated stained glass windows with beams of light and a smoky haze coming through? Make it seem nice, make it seem worshipy, make it seem God. It's giving the bilge on a ship from the old world. Anyway, that night, David is telling Jude, he's like, it's been a while since I've had anybody who felt like a brother. That's foreshadowing. And Jude is like, yes, let's get waffles. I guess waffles are a thing for him now. The first movie, he really wanted to go to a theme park. So very Disney World coded theme park, but Magic Mountain maybe, I don't know.
It's been a long time since I've felt like I had a real brother in my life. And I'm grateful for you. I'm excited.
I feel the same. Now, can we get some waffles?
What would I do without these two? Actively process my white guilt in a productive way? What movie am I supposed to passively watch to accomplish that? I don't have HBO. Just as they're getting into their waffle zone, they hear some vandalism afoot.
Hey! David! Get back here!
You call the police. I'll shut off the alarm.
Okay, that was cool. Sorry, I mean, I know Reverend Jude just shattered every single bone in his ribcage, and now he's unconscious in a burning building, and I promise, that's creating a lot of suspense. I'm so sure something bad will happen. If only there were some white savior at the center of this story who had the bravery of 2001 firemen and the haircut of a 2001 porn star. Oh, look, over there. Quick, save him, Pastor Dick Hardy. Drag him away from those tightly controlled foreground and background flames, located a safe distance away from them. At first I was like, oh, okay, they got some budget. They're doing these fire effects. But then I really looked at it and I realized, I mean, you can tell those are all gas controlled flames, which is standard on movie sets, but it's using wide shots that really reveal how like not on fire the rest of the room is. It's like, oh yeah, there's a line of flames in the back and there's a line of flames in front of the camera. But if they had tightened up the shots or used a different lens, it could have felt like those flames were a lot closer to them, because this never feels truly like they're about to burn up. But Dave runs down into the burning basement. Jude is bleeding from the back of his body, and Dave like drags him up the stairs and he's praying to God. And I'm like, don't worry, Jude is gonna like make it out of there, and he'll spend the rest of the movie in a hospital bed offering sage words of wisdom to the more actively involved white characters. They get to the, like, I don't know what you call it, the aisle, and you really see the flames starting to spread to the point where it's like, oh my God, Harry Potter and the CGI smoke. There's some kind of cool shots if it weren't super obvious that this was all fake, but things are not as I thought, okay? Jude is not just gonna lay there and say wisdom for the rest of the movie. Unfortunately, he has one more wise thing to say.
Hold on, Jude. It's okay. What? What are you saying? What does that mean? Jude?
I admit, that was unexpected, and I did cry a little bit when Jude died the first time I watched this. Nobody should have to go that way while living in Arkansas. Ugh. Especially not Jude. He had lived out his life in the beautiful country of Africa, the same place where Jesus Christ was born. Or was he born in Salt Lake City, Utah, and just did an Africa trip several times during spring break? It depends who you ask. And I know some of you are already typing into the comments, letting me know that Africa is a continent and not a country. Well, joke's on you, because Africa is actually the only country that is also its own continent. Rest in peace, Jude, or as he would say back in his homeland, "G'day, mate, see you down under." They haul off Jude's body in a hospital bus ambulance. Why is the hospital called Saline Medical Center? The whole hospital is sponsored by saltwater? That's some good synergy. Anyway, we then jump back in time to 12 hours earlier and meet that girl who is questioning her faith. She's a swimmer. She has a voiceover a lot of the time. I guess this voiceover is motivated by something. It's her inner thoughts praying to God. And she's like, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret." But her name is something else stupid.
I feel so lost, God. I'm starting to feel pretty dumb talking to myself when you don't talk back, so wherever you are, I'm still here.
God is like, "Julie, it's time to get your nails done. This is $1 million movie, so maybe don't come in for a hand close-up with last week's manicure. Don't make me blow up your church tonight." Ooh. Sometimes people ask me if I feel like I'm wasting my time watching all these movies and shows that I kind of hate, and my answer is no, because I kind of like hating things. It's fun. But no, it does feel like a waste. Single-use plastic products, which are totally crowding out our landfills and hurting the planet. That's why I feel so connected to the sponsor of today's video, BLUELAND, who I first saw years ago on Shark Tank, and now I'm so grateful that I have their products all around my house. And now BLUELAND has an exciting new product that I get to incorporate into my weekly cleaning habits. I'm trying so hard to take accountability for my carbon footprint and reduce the amount of plastic and waste and trash and carbon emissions that I produce. And BLUELAND's products are perfect in helping me with that because none of their products have any plastic waste and either compostable or recyclable packaging or just beautiful reusable glass. Plus the formulas themselves are made with vegan and non-GMO ingredients. They're hypoallergenic without bleach, phosphates, paraben, ammonia, all of that harsh stuff that is bad for your skin and for the earth. And BLUELAND proves that being earth-friendly does not mean paying extra. Not only do you save money because you're not wasting it on products that are mostly water, you just use a single refill tablet, which costs about $2.25. That's probably half of what I would spend on a standard bottle of liquid cleaner from a big brand. Plus, if you buy in bulk or get the subscription, which I highly recommend, you're gonna be saving even more money. Those are customizable. I actually use these hand soap refills the most, not only here in my house, but also I take these with me to hotels because usually they just give you bar soap and I hate washing my hands with that. But at home, I love the way that these hand soap bottles look on my counter and I love the smell in the kitchen. I have this lemon one that is just like, ooh, fresh. And BLUELAND has outdone themselves. They've upgraded their hand soap bottle. Never been a better time to get started with BLUELAND. I've also been relying heavily on the BLUELAND multi-surface cleaner, but you just wait because I was delighted when they surprised me with this new release, the BLUELAND dishwasher tablets. I love the convenience of having a dishwasher. This is my first apartment to do so, but I always was a little suspicious of those dishwashing pods because they have this plastic film around it, which it just seems unnecessary. And it is. As proven by BLUELAND, you just put one of these into the dispenser tray. It's gonna cut through that grease and grime without cutting into the planet's lifespan. I love using this new product and I love that it's just as simple as using any of the other BLUELAND tablets where all you need to do is fill your forever bottle with warm water, drop one of your tablets into the bottle. You can leave the cap off until it fully dissolves. And then within minutes, your cleaning product or hand soap is ready to use. You are not gonna be stirring or shaking that bottle. Like, you can relax. BLUELAND has thought of everything. Get your first purchase from BLUELAND for 15% off when you use my QR code or click the link in the description below. Now shipping to the US, Canada, UK, New Zealand, and Australia. Thank you, BLUELAND, for sponsoring today's video and filling my home with naturally derived cleaning products. So clearly Julie is struggling with her faith. That's why she can't answer her parents' phone call on Sunday. She's pretending to be in church, even though her boyfriend comes in. His name is Adam, and he's like, "I know what you're going through. I got out of that churchy church shit like when I was a kid," and he's a non-believer now. So they really love to show how like the over-intellectual college students don't believe in God because they overthink everything, and suddenly the stories that guide their life principles have to make sense and not involve magic. Nerds, get with the program. There was a huge boat and a flood with all of the animals in the world, including bacteria, aboard. And it's fine. Don't think about it. It's fine. Go to class and don't think about it. Later that day, the teens of college are discussing the Mandela effect, which Julie is like having a hard time time believe thing. They're like, the Kit Kat bar used to have a hyphen, Curious George used to have a tail. And then they give a very expositional explanation of the Mandela effect, which seems like it's coming late in the conversation for the people in the room, but not for us, the audience.
The theory is our reality collided with a parallel reality. Look it up.
Do you guys seriously not hear how ridiculous you sound?
Okay, but God had himself a human son who could walk on water and multiply fish, and that's not ridiculous?
Okay, he did not have to hand Rebecca Religious Studies her own ass like that. She was gagged and gooped. He just got her ass in a way that her faith will never save her from. We love the kid in a college dorm who is there to play Wonderwall on acoustic guitar and then viciously confront you with your own cognitive dissonance. What can this girl say to that? What can she say? Oh, my thing is weird, but your thing is normal? If there is a God, then even he is like, oh, you look so dumb right now. He made such a good point. And she's like all mad. And then they were like, you're one of the religious ones. And Adam is like, not so much anymore. And then that's when this girl is like, I'm annoyed is what I am. And then she storms off. And Adam chases after her to try and be like, stop, wait, give me sex.
We were just joking. Eden, I don't care what you believe and don't believe. And I don't have a problem with God.
Yeah, but you do, Adam.
That's right. This couple is named Adam and Eve, which I believe is the screenwriter's super subtle reference to the sex toy company that sponsored me once in 2022. And that brand remains close to my heart to this day, ever since one of their thrusting butt plugs broke free from its safety tether and wormed its way up into my chest cavity, before running out of battery and lodging itself painfully behind my lungs. I know I'm gonna get it out one day, once I can find a USB-C charging cable that is both very long and extra rigid. Eve here is like, we need to take a break. I need to think about Jesus and God and my place in the world and stuff, so let's just take a break, okay? And Adam's like, what? But what? And she storms off and finds the Harbor House. Why would I say it without the H sound? Anyway, it's young people worship time, and she's like, this is where the f it's at.
Dear God, thank you for Harbor House.
Eve is like, wow, this club has everything. Group prayer, worship music, young women wearing exclusively long-sleeved, neutral-colored basics with sensible necklines. Dear God, please tell me this is your version of what an orgy is, because that would explain why I'm soaking through the cushion of this padded folding chair right now. Garba, Eve, talks to Josh, who he was the main character from the first movie, and also in the second movie. He's sort of like a recurring character, who was like a law student, but left law school to join the church with Pastor Dave after Pastor Dave proved to him that God's not dead in the first movie. And also he then like watched Kevin Sorbo die in the street by forcing him to like accept God without medical attention. It's been a wild ride so far. Anyway, Josh is like, you can always talk to me if you need to. And the girl's like, I don't want to talk to you. I just want to suck your dick. And since you're Jesus-y church guy, it's not allowed. So I'm gonna leave. I'm maybe putting a little of my own spin on that. Anyway, that night at a party, it's clear Adam is distraught about his break from Eve. Adam, are you okay, bro? You've been suckling on the rim of that empty plastic cup for hours now. Is the loud music overstimulating you? Another clip breakdown, another instance where I have to point out the obvious empty cup acting on the screen. And it doesn't have to look so fake. In fact, I have a confession. Every beverage container you've ever seen on my channel has also been empty. You just wouldn't know it because I'm so good at acting. Oh wait, that's real liquid in there. I thought that I was just a really good actor. I may have wasted a lot of money nominating myself for Emmys over the last few years. I really believed in the power of my imagination. Okay, good feedback, good biofeedback. So Adam and college girl and college guy are walking home from the party, and Adam is getting real angry. He's like throwing picket signs, he's bemoaning a God that he doesn't believe in, and he's so distressed that his two best friends are like, all right, good luck tonight, try not to end it all. But Adam doesn't listen. He is going to cause a death that night, but not his own. Remember, this is a 12-hour period. We're catching up to Jude being exploded now. So what happens is Adam sees a brick and he throws it through the window, which knocks the spigot off of a natural gas pipeline of some sort, and that is enough for a light bulb to cause Jude to die. And if you're seeing the symbolism here of a light in the darkness, then you went to high school English class once. The next morning, Adam is terrified to learn that his simple act of vandalism accidentally caused the death of a beloved preacher from Africa. Like, there's 12 sins in there at least. Naturally, this This is seen as a homicidal hate crime by the police, and they're looking for who did it. And the school is suddenly like, we gotta get rid of this church. Like, it's causing hate crimes to happen. We gotta get rid of it. And you gotta tell Pastor Dave. They're talking to like some guy whose name literally doesn't matter, some handsome man who's like, but Pastor Dave is my friend. And they're like, exactly. That's why you gotta tell him we're knocking down his church and he can go die in a hole somewhere. And he's like, okay. But not without a fight, because this church has been like a long-standing pillar of the community.
The church is a historic landmark. It was here before the university.
And that's what will make it the perfectly ironic location for a gay bar, where closeted sophomores will sneak in to suck each other. Get with the times, Bob. The Cockhouse Tavern will be the new place of worship on campus every Sunday during brunch, and there will also be drag bingo on Tuesdays. While they're out of the harbor house because it's, you know, been burned down, the whole congregation is welcomed by the black church in town, which is very cool and progressive of David A.R. White to write in. He's really good with tokenism. I don't know if they told this actor to speak exactly like he's Martin Luther King Jr. giving a speech, but that's the impression that he gives, so nobody stopped him. Anyway, they're at Jude's funeral, and Jude's parents are super sweet. I actually really like these actors. I found this to be, for the most part, a very effective scene. I think I was just like tired that day because I was getting into it. Jude's dad mentions that kind of, I think, Swahili phrase that was the last thing that Jude said, and so obviously David is like, what does that mean?
It means always God is good, and God is good always.
That's the cute phrase that they always said together. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was crying very hard during this part, to the point where I felt the need to stop and take a picture. Okay, this scene got me. I'm being emotionally vulnerable with you. I'm a victim. If I'm crying like that at this movie, why is Reverend Dave acting like his favorite Chili's at the airport was going out of business and not like his African brother died of explosion the other day? He's like, he said that thing we always said. Anyway, can you guys leave? Can you go back on your Africa plane, please? Like, we don't see the parents ever again. Bye. But don't worry, because when Reverend Dave is running later on, he does have a moment of catharsis where he finally bends over and goes, ah, my friend is dead, which is the movie way that men are able to express emotion. Anyway, David ends up back at the soup kitchen to leave some donations from his congregation for the homeless, and it's like, you're the homeless. Didn't you live in that church? He didn't. I thought he did. Anyway, this girl, when she gave him lunch earlier in the first season, she also had a note on it being like, oh, you just got out of jail? I've always loved the bad boys. So we know that she has feelings for him too. And she's like using his dead friend as a great opportunity to try and get down by that grieving, mourning, 12 stages of grief. I'm being horrible. I'm being a horrible, wretched gremlin today. I think it's the crop top.
I'll be okay.
You hungry? How about I feed you for a change?
Rain check.
Okay. You know where to find me.
Right here in this singular location with another one of these fucking bandanas on my head, as always, and feed him for a change. You literally gave him a paper bag full of pork chops along with a sexually suggestive napkin note like a few days ago. What? Why is your memory so bad? Have you been eating the flammable gel from inside the chafing dish warmers again? Oh, Sweaty. By the way, I cannot remember this character's name, so I've just been calling her Sweaty Monica. Like Monica from Friends, if blotting powder had never been invented. Anyway, she's like, all right, I'll get that of yours later. I'll get that balls. What is that? Okay, so now the school official guy, he's like, so we're making an offer to buy this church from you, and here's the offer. And he's like, that's really not enough, and also I'm good. And then he's like, you don't get it, we're literally not giving you a choice. This is eminent domain. How do you think, freeways and roads get built? Like, it's legal to just force you to sell your home or your church or whatever. And Reverend Dave is like, wow, on the day of my friend's funeral, and also the day that I got some free food from the food bank, and also my friend is dead still, and you're saying I have to sell the church, and my church is all Bernie looking? This is too much. And I feel for him. That is like 3 things going on in the story at once. On top of him having to style his hair every single morning to look like that, Josie and the Pussycats. Now, our friend Josh has had a whole semester of law school under his belt before he quit college to become a church guy. He explains why David A. A.R. White has no choice, but he's also very encouraging. He's like, something inspirational. We're gonna, God is dark, but he's also light. And it's like, we get it. Things are sad. They're gonna be better later. They talk about it a lot. A lot of the action in this movie is just them saying like, have faith and things will magically get better once we wait and see how. It's like, okay, these characters literally do nothing to move the story forward, almost ever. Well, in this case, David does drive out of town and visits a very smooth talking man played by John Corbett of, I don't know, like Sex and the City. He was in My Big Fat Greek Wedding. He was in United States of Terra. And it's revealed that he is the estranged brother of David A.R. White. They made no attempt to find someone who had a familial resemblance, but they go and get, I don't know, David's eating a hot dog with the most obvious Heinz product placement you've ever seen. And basically the brother agrees like, all right, I'll come into town. I'll look at this and I'll be your lawyer to try and help you not have to sell your church. And so they go to the house, which is the dad's old house. The dad is dead, but he used to live in this house. And they've been so out of touch for the last 6 years that Dave didn't even know that his brother named Trip. Is it Trip? That's awful. He didn't even know that Trip had a triple bypass. Is his name Trip? Trip with the triple bypass? No, his name is like Pierce Hill. David Hill and Pierce Hill. Anyway, it's crazy to me that just because his brother as a teenager decided not to be Christian anymore, David was like, all right, well, you. Good luck with your surgery. Don't call me about it. But you can tell things are going to get better because Dave wakes up and his brother is already hard at work making phone calls and getting the case in order. They go out to eat and basically Pierce is not feeling super hopeful about this whole journey. He's like, it's not going to work. They go to the church. They reminisce about where they carved their initials as children. I don't know what they're saying. Stupid shit. They get a call and they're rushing over to the church because there's a demolition crew there and they're like, sorry, we have been told to tear this church down. And they're like, we can't have that happen. So brother Pierce jumps on the move and he drives to find a judge who happens to be at church. And he's like, they're trying to tear down this church on a Sunday, like to surprise us. And he gets an injunction, a cease and desist. But he can only do this because Pastor Dave gets up in front of the crew and the whole crowd of townspeople and starts reading the Bible cover to cover to stall.
Local pastor David Hill is basically staging his very own version of what can only be described here as a Senate filibuster.
Just a note, you could also describe it as a sit-in or a nonviolent protest, just two terms that would be more relevant to the situation, but whatever. Movie journalists are gonna movie journalism. And one thing about movie journalism is it's always laden with expositional, overly written, and opinionated morality. They have a full-on news reporter and they're like, the unbiased fact of the matter is that what we've seen here today can only mean that magic is real, and experts are calling it objectively the coolest thing ever. It's like, that doesn't seem like hard reporting, but okay. Can only be described as a Senate filibuster. No, there's other things you could say. You could say other things that are more accurate. I want to kill the news, movie news. Anyway, everybody is like chatting in the news about like this new happening. Like they're like, oh, should the church be torn down? Yes, because it's a public campus and church and state, and the church is getting more money than other religions, and that's not fair. But whatever. They managed to buy 3 weeks of time with that injunction, and David goes on a date with the lady who, like, I guess likes art, and she talks about the art being like, that art is your problem in that it's a light in the darkness. It's like, okay, they're looking at ice sculptures or some shit. A lot of filler scenes in this movie where they're just like talking, making symbolism happen. It's like, we get it, Bible. Some things look like other things, and those things can have to do with life. Let's move on. I don't want to waste my whole earthly sentence like thinking about figures of speech and allegories. I got shit to do. David goes on a talk show and he's like attacks basically he's being sued for not selling the house, and he's suing them back, being like, this is unconstitutional. So now it's a full-on war between the Christian left and the right, the bite. Also, him and his brother tear down a dead tree. That's supposed to matter. They laugh about nothing at dinner with that girl there. Back at the school guy's house, he's getting lots of social media hate, but from like the religious people who are like, how dare you tear down this church? You should be torn down. And someone even throws a brick through his window. Someone from the religious side does something evil. Have you ever heard of it? Such a thing? Oh no, it scared his young daughter. So he runs up to David A.R. White's house and punches him in the face, and he's like, you scared my daughter with your indirect actions. And Pierce comes over and he like really knocks a guy in the face, and everyone's punching and punching. There's physical violence in this one. We have the budget for a stunt choreographer. Anyway, of course, for some reason, this makes David be mean to the girl who likes him. He's like, maybe you should just get out of here. She's like, okay, good luck with your broken cheekbone. There's a scene where Pierce is talking to Josh, and he's basically like, what kind of law did you study? He's like, oh, I studied social justice, and for like a minute, yes. But anyway, he's like, you don't seem like a liberal, and he's like, oh, social justice is for liberals and conservatives. And it's like, not in practice, as we've seen, but maybe for you, Joshy boy.
I mean, Jesus was the ultimate social justice warrior. He said the lives of children mattered. He regarded women with honor and dignity in a cultural moment where a woman's testimony wasn't even permissible in a court of law.
Okay, be careful, Josh. Social justice warrior is sort of a pejorative term for this movie's target audience, and you're gonna make conservatives turn their back on the church with this description of woke Jesus. They'll be like, you know what, he's right. Come to think of it, Jesus accepted free handouts, and he still lived on his dad's property into his 30s. He used pronouns, had dirty fingernails, wore flip-flops to my cousin's wedding. Suddenly in my mind, Jesus Christ is just like that girl who works at Starbucks, looking like a boy. And I hate that thing. That's me being the people of Connecticut that I grew up around. Oh, at some point, the kid Adam confesses to his girlfriend Eve that, like, I'm the one who did this. I have to do something. I have to confess because everyone thinks that Jude's death was a murder and it was just an accident. I need them to know. And she's like, no, you probably shouldn't because you'll go to jail for like ever. Doesn't matter though, because somebody anonymously texts Reverend Dave and is like, Adam McFace did it. And Pastor Dave goes up and shoves him against a bike and is like, you did it. You did this to my friend. My African friend is dead. And the whole school is like, whoa, you can't be pushing people. That's not cool. And now the school gets to use that as ammo against Dave being like, do you see this crazy man? You want him running a church on our school? He might as well have a shotgun and fire indiscriminately into the dining hall. And it's like, okay, we need to settle down here. The point is, the movie's trying to say like, everybody's up in arms. Everybody is doing the most and fighting, but not listening and listening. That's a direct quote from this. I don't know what journalist she's trying to be.
There you have it. Both sides are totally fired up. Huge protest is planned for the weekend. That's a sign of the times, isn't it? Everybody's yelling. Nobody's listening.
Okay, you're the only one who's yelling so far, but it's in this weird inflection, so it's actually coming out like more of an animalistic squawk. It's a sign of the times. Quack! Like, mama, what planet is that voice from? I feel like if I could pull down that zipper on her chest, her human skin suit would fall away to reveal a terrifying bird-like creature who's been living amongst us in disguise in order to spread fear-mongering news stories to the public because she feeds off of our panic. That's not a myth. I'm telling the truth. Just watch. Our Bird King overlords are gonna bust in here any minute, take me away, and that will be proof. Okay. It is possible that I'm experiencing a teeny little bit of temporary psychosis. I have been eating a lot of that flammable gel from the chafing dish warmers. I should apologize to Sweaty Monica for projecting that onto her. Josh is like comforting Eve, who's like crying because her boyfriend is an accidental murderer who went to jail, awaiting trial for this accidental death. And meanwhile, Dave is like super mad at the whole world. He's like yelling at his brother. They're having a falling out. He's like, fine, do this yourself. And everyone's mad. And you can tell Dave is feeling real down on himself, and the reverend at the other church that he's at is like, you know what, Jesus was never proud. And he's like, this is not a matter of pride that I'm countersuing a school for this church that I don't care about.
It's nothing to do with pride, Roland. And no offense, but maybe you'd understand a little better if you were the one being attacked.
Brother, who do you think you're talking to? I'm a black preacher in the deep south.
Oh, I think Pastor Dave forgot who he was talking to for a second and tried to take credit for inventing civil rights. He's like, no offense, but you couldn't possibly understand what it's like to have a window get broken. And you could never understand the tense climate happening over there on that college campus because that college has yet to admit their first black student. So it's obviously not about race. You don't say, Reverend Dave, you don't say. Like, don't say it. You should don't say it. I love this moment where David A.R. White writes in moments of humility for himself. I think this is the most flawed we've ever seen his character in a movie. He's normally like the one doing what Josh is doing, which I guess signifies how Josh is ready to take the helm as the man who comforts the whole town with his words and his words. I'd be like, you can show me all the psalms and leaflets you want, Josh, but you also got to show me that in the confessional booth. Why do I love Josh? God, stop it, Nicholas. This is a family show. Pureflix. Anyway, I think Dave has like a moment in the church where he like is crying in the church and he's like, oh, my dad is dead and God represents my dad and I love God and dad, I miss you and I'm sorry I let you down and this church is over. Anyway, he's talking to God. He hears from God, and so he goes to visit the person that he once pushed over in a lawn. He goes and visits Adam and gives him Jude's Bible as a token of, I don't care about my dead friend anymore. You're good.
This is Jude's Bible. He'd want you to have it.
I'm so sorry. I came here to forgive you, my child, but the face you make when you cry is making it really hard. Like, so pathetic. Suddenly I'm like, does this state still use the electric chair? Because anyway, he hugs Adam and he's forgiven. He's forgiven. And that night is the night of the big protest that the woke college kids were like, this is the night where we let them all know how angry we are. Show up and be angry. Drive a car through the crowd. Make a pipe bomb. Do whatever. We're protesting, babe. It's like, okay, this seems like there's an undercurrent of violence, but coming from both sides. Even the Christian people are holding signs with a scowl. But just as things are about to come to a very anticlimactic climax, Reverend, what's his name, takes the stage and is like, listen up, I spoke to God and he said, this church is not my home. My home is wherever I put my at night. And so I'm giving up this church, whatever. They can knock it down and build the student center. And the church headmaster has promised that we'll have, you know, a Harbor House presence here at the student center, but we'll be welcoming all faiths, and kids with no faith will even be able to read their books here. It's sappy. But, you know, he then unifies everybody with a candle to candle tip touching vigil, which is how most wars come to an end.
Sometimes all it takes is a spark, but the spark becomes a flame, and if that flame spreads, the power can be so overwhelming it transforms everything around it.
Damn, that girl is really romanticizing the explosion that killed a guy. I feel like they need to really indoctrinate her back into that Bible stuff, because otherwise she could be on the cusp of becoming a serial arsonist. The warm blaze of the church inferno showed me that God is real. God is all-powerful, all-consuming, capable of both creating light and causing death. Tonight is the night I realized God is fire, and I am fire's loyal disciple, and the world will cower as I spread its destructive blaze from library to school building. I am the light in the darkness, and the fire is my Lord. Seriously, we get it with the fire symbolism, kids. Move on. And we do move on, because now Eve, like, believes in God again. She's good. Everyone's happy. The guy is let out of jail for his crime. There's a school with no church on it anymore. We love that. And we know once and for all whether or not God is dead in the ground or up in the heavens.
I can hear you again. Even though I know you were never really gone, it's good to have you back.
She did it! She learned that God's not dead. Although, he's probably also not on Facebook. Like, have you ever tried buying a couch off the marketplace? It's the most godless scum of the earth. Unholy demons crawling around. Also, her name is Keaton? Ugh, Keaton? Sounded like Eve every time, and now my Adam and Eve joke doesn't make sense anymore. And I had no reason to tell you about the sex toy inside me. Ugh, and now I've spoiled the name of my memoir? This sucks. I'm back on team God is dead. What about you? Vote now in the comments below, or by using your smartphone to send me money via Venmo or Cash App. Include the hashtag YesGodDead or hashtag GodDeadNo to cast your vote, and I'll grant one lucky winner eternal life, generously provided by the terrifying bird-like creatures who live in disguise amongst us and feed off of our fear and panic. Waiter, more flammable food warming gel, please. I'm starving and exhausted by doing this theological research with all of you today. Do you feel emotionally vulnerable enough for me to get you to join my thing? Perfect. Then you can click that thumbs up button and also that subscribe button. Remember, we're trying to renovate. We're trying to repair my spot in the algorithm. So if you could turn on notifications, click subscribe, engage with this video, it would be super helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I need it. Turn on notifications. That way you'll always be the first to know when you're not just swimming in a pool by yourself, you're questioning your own mortality and your place in the universe. Also, I've got merch at Patreon. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for making yourself emotionally vulnerable and therefore susceptible to victimization with me today. I will see you next time.